Grade channel. I'm your teacher Aishwarya, and in our class today we are going to be covering the chapter Resource and Development, and this right here is going to be the final part of this particular chapter where we are going to be talking about soil and its formation, classification of Indian soils, soil erosion and prevention of soil erosion. So I hope that all of you can hear me, see me clearly, and my voice is audible. And very quickly, for all the live students, if my audio, my video and my screen and what I'm writing on the screen is visible to all of you, quickly give me a thumbs up on this particular chat to let me know that we are good to go, right? So good evening all of you, good evening. Now as you all know, I have already covered the first two parts, right? So in part one, we spoke about understanding resources, classification of resources and importance of resource planning. In session 2, we spoke about land as a resource and how important land utilization, what happens during land degradation and land conservation. That was part 2. And final part is part 3. Right? Now part 3 is very important on an examination point of view, because from part 3 is where your map work comes, right? Now how many of you are aware of the map work that is coming from this particular chapter? If you have all seen the syllabus, please make sure that you take a printout of your syllabus and you stick it on your screen. Because last year what happened was, a lot of your seniors who were there, they were very confused about which map is coming from where, which is deleted syllabus, which syllabus is not there. Everybody was confused till the very end. One day before the exam also, there were students who were confused. And my students who are here right now, you guys are the early birds who started your preparation properly, and you guys should not make the same mistake where you are thinking what is map work, right? Which is why all of you have the syllabus printed. Now one thing, like Janisha, Shivank, all of you here, you all were interacting, talking well and good. Now class has started, so I need your focus. Point number 1. Point number 2 is, in this particular chapter, map will not come for locating. That means that you don't need to mark in the map as to what is the type of soil or which type of soil it is, right? So what do you need to do? You only need to identify. That means this can come not just as a part of section F, which is map work. This can come in MCQ also, right? So two things are possible here, which is why what I need you to do is, when we cover these topics, please have your textbooks with you, have a pencil with you, right? Please have a bottle of water as well, because I need these three things with you guys so that our class can be seamless. And as and when I tell you that this is important, that is important, things will be easy, right? And class will happen faster. Now everybody, as you all know, I know a lot of you students are very regular to class, but those of you whoever are new to class, this right here is a reminder that you have to hit the subscribe button on BYJU'S 9th and 10th. Now of course it says daily live classes from 5 p.m. I'll make a slight change and say daily live classes from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, as you all know, SHIKHAR ka timetable is out. Today is Tuesday, right? Tuesday you are having social science classes with me and Ankita ma'am, right? So everybody, please make sure that you take a screenshot of our timetable as well, so that you know what classes is happening when, and you can come a little bit better prepared for class as well. So this right here is a quick reminder for all of you. So shall we get started, everybody? Very quickly, how is the Josh level check? And I'm going to get started, right? Full form of SST, social studies, right? Yes, are we ready? Now, let me tell you, soil that is there, right? Soil is not a topic which is very tough. How many of you agree with me, right? How many of you agree with me that soil in general, starting with soil formation, classification of Indian soils, soil erosion, prevention of soil erosion, these are all very easy topics, right? To think about it, they are also very scoring. But now in social studies, what is different from probably what you learned in your lower grades, right, is that on an examination point of view, there are some technical terms, right, or some keywords that you will have to write so that you get full marks, right? So that's the only difference from what you've learned before, right, and what you have to learn right now. So you already know. Now, secondly, another thing that I also need you to tell me is that with respect to soils, Visualization is a little important because if you see how the soil looks like, trying to remember some of the characteristics also becomes easy, right? Soil is not something that you have never seen in your life. You step outside the house, you will be able to see soil somewhere at some point. So these are important observations which we will also make today. So let's get started with the first topic, which is soil and its formation, right? Now when you talk about soil is an abiotic component. That means it is non-living, right? But at the same time, right, we also know that soil right here is a living system. That means it incorporates a lot of living organisms and it is one of the most important natural resources. Now, why is that? Why is soil an important natural resource? First and foremost, we know that soil is home to a lot of living organisms. We know that soil consists of a lot of nutrients within them, and we know that this right here is necessary for growing crops and practicing agriculture at a large scale, right? And yes, it is a renewable resource as well, right? But now at the same time, it's not that soil will form in one day, right? It's not like soil is going to, oh, today I use some soil, tomorrow soil is going to come in one day, right? Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. But at the same time, formation of soil takes millions of years, right? Now, how many of you can tell me how exactly does formation of soil take place? Yes? How many of you can tell me how does formation of soil take place or how exactly is soil formed? Can you tell me? We've learned about this in our lower grades, right? Yes, very good. Student Ash and Rohit and many others have given me the answer. Riddhi Bacha, it will not be degradation, but rather it will be something called as weathering. Right? So what do we mean by this process of weathering? Weathering is a process where large rocks, right? Huge rocks that are there undergo certain processes where breakdown takes place, right? So we see that breakdown of these large scale rocks takes place due to multiple factors. And we see that these factors could be climate, vegetation and other life forms, topography, which is nothing but the, the land, for the geographical region that is there. Along with that time, we see that we observe that this breakdown of rocks takes place, right? So broadly when you talk about it, so we see that at the end of the day, for soil to be formed, we need a parent rock or we require a bedrock, right? And we know that this is the base material. Your rock or your bedrock is what is your base material that helps in this formation of soil, right? And of course, we know that temperature, rainfall, various climatic conditions, right? So we know that these climatic conditions also contribute to the breakdown of this parent rock, followed by which we know that living organisms which are present also facilitate the breakdown of it, followed by which we know that if this particular rock is present either on a steep slope or on the gentle slope, right, that means basically how the slope is, right? So imagine if there's a rock and there's like a steep slope like this, then we know that the factors along with this also contributes to the type of soil that is formed, right? And at the end of the day, various chemical factors are there. Time is also there, which means more amount of time is there, more amount of weathering takes place, we get more soil. Less amount of time that is there, that means less soil, right? And at the end of the day, we see that there are various chemical factors which affect it. Then we know that along with this also affects the color of the soil, the texture of the soil, so on and so forth, right? So we see that these are various factors which affect soil formation. So before I go ahead, here's a quick question for all of you. Which among the following is not a major factor which is involved in soil formation? Can you tell me which is the correct answer here? Yes, which among the following is not a major factor which is involved? BTS Army and Kamna, you can pay attention in my class, right? Not anywhere else. You miss me. Yes. Very good, all of you, very good. We know time, parent rock, climate are all important factors involved in soil formation. Earth's rotation has nothing to do with it, right? So correct answer here, of course, is option number B. Now see, let me tell you one thing, okay? In the initial part of it, you need to understand the importance. So in your textbook, just put a line and say importance of soil as a resource, right? Why is soil important as a resource? You need to understand this. So from your initial paragraph, you get an idea. See, in your textbook, they have not elaborated on how exactly each factor contributes to weathering of rock, which is why you need to have a basic understanding of what are the factors, right? They may ask you to list it down for maybe 2 marks. So these are 2 important pointers you should know from the first part of it. So far, are you all with me? Yes or no? Have you all marked in your textbook? Yes. You're all in 10th standard right now. You're giving board exams, right? Chances are that I have to be a little bit like this. Yes. Okay. Somebody is asking me. Okay. Meow tails. I know I'm a little fast because the remaining part of it requires me to spend some more time. The initial part of it is easy, right? The second part of it, where I talk about classification of Indian soil. How many of you get worried about this particular topic? Because I know that this is the topic which all of you will get very worried about. Ma'am, so much to memorize. Ma'am, so much to remember. Ma'am, I have to, remember map also. I have so much to worry. So I want to spend some time in the second topic than in the initial part, because the initial part is simple. It's an introduction. Now somebody asked me, ma'am, will it come only for 2 marks? Chances are that it may come for 2, maybe 3 marks, but most often than not, topics or questions come from my experience, what I've observed is, they don't really ask from the initial part, they ask from the remaining 3 topics. But now you can't say CBSE is just going to follow a trend, because right now competency is given a lot of importance, which is why you can't leave any aspect of NCERT anymore, right? Every aspect of NCERT, word by word, is important, which is why me as a teacher will also make sure that you read the textbook word by word, right? And we will do NCERT reading together also, so that you all know that it's important. Ma'am, I thought factors were important. I'm not saying factors are not important. But for example, they will not ask you a 5-mark question to elaborate on factors, because in your textbook also they have mentioned that these are the factors. This is how they contribute, right? So that is what I mean by it. I'm not saying that it's not important. It's absolutely important. But you will not have to elaborate and write too much in detail also. That is where I'm coming from, right? So with this, are we all clear? Are we good to go? Shall we move on to the next aspect, which is classification of soil? So now we have understood, right? So now one thing we have understood is that when we talk about soil formation, there are multiple factors which are involved in soil formation, no? So there are multiple factors. There could be time, climate, the geography of the area, right? What kind of, probably how much time it took, what is the chemical involved, what are the organic components present, what are the inorganic components present. So based on all of these things, you know that all over our country, we will not find one kind of soil, but rather we will find different types of soil, right? So now based on these different types of soil, in India, we find alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, laterite soil, right? Desert soil, or I would say arid soil. Yes, then we have mountain soil, or I would say forest soil. Then these are some 2 extra terms that you don't need to worry about, which is saline soil and marshy soil, right? So this is what we mean by this. Okay, so before I proceed with it, is any technical issue there? Tilak Gowda, whatever doubts you have, let me know, right? Yes. Ma'am, it is lagging. It is not lagging on my phone. Can you quickly refresh? Yes? Can you all quickly refresh? Okay. Yes, I know these 2 are not there on NCERT. You don't need to worry, right? Ansh has come. Hello Ansh, but I'm taking 10th standard class, bacha. Can I please take your doubt later when I come to 6th, 7th and 8th, right? Because your 10th standard seniors have to study, right? Okay, very good. It's lagging in between, I understand, but keep refreshing, okay? Now students, you have this map, right? All of you have this map in your textbook. One full page in your textbook is dedicated to this map. Everybody put a very big star mark, write important around it. This map right here is super duper important, because this map will come for identification, right? So you will get for identification. That means they will give you one part of it and then you will have to identify which soil it is. Rohit has helped me out and told me, ma'am, in page number 9 it is there. Thank you. Yes? Okay, very good. Very, very important. Now quickly to address how to get notes, Telegram channel is there. Go and click on the Telegram button, right? Tilak, I am going to explain, right? I am going to explain laterite soil, which is why you wait, right? 2 minutes. Topography is basically the land layout, right? What kind of landforms are there? Like, do you have like plateau? Is it mountainous region? That is what we mean by topography, right? Yes, all right. So let's first start with alluvial soil, which is the first soil, okay? Now first let me tell you about alluvial soil, right? Now we know that alluvial soil that is there is formed by deposition of sediments by the river. So when the river flows, right, especially if you look at Indus, Brahmaputra, Ganga and everything, when they flow, they bring in a lot of sediments. And now we know that they will have actions on their movement. The movement of water will have action on the rocks, right? Which means that there will be forming, you will get some sediments as well. Now basically your alluvial soil is formed because of that. Now we see that this is the largest soil group, right? So this right here is one of the largest soil group in India, and we see that this soil is highly fertile, and we find them in the northern plains, we find it in the Indo-Gangetic plains, and a part of Rajasthan and Gujarat that is there will also have it. A part of Rajasthan and Gujarat, and in the eastern coastal area you will find it, right? So this is the distribution. Now majority we find it in northern plains, especially in the Indo-Gangetic plains. Now I tell you an easy way to remember, okay? How will you remember that if this map comes, how do you know that it is alluvial soil? So first and foremost, let me tell you, right? When you look at this particular map, northern plains means, remember, alluvial soil. But you can simply assign or think of the number 7. Think of the number 7. Now when you look at 7 and you see this distribution in the map, can you see this? It looks like a 7, right? Does this or does this not look like a 7 to all of you? So remember, alluvial soil means 7. And if the map looks like this in this manner, then you know that the distribution given to you is alluvial soil. Easy peasy. Make a note of it in your textbook, right? Write it next to that. Now nextly, you should know some of the basic features, right? Some of the basic features of alluvial soil. So first and foremost, we know that because it's very fertile, we know that a lot of people, especially in the northern region, in the northern plains, they do a lot of, agriculture. So they grow rice, crop, wheat, sugarcane, so on and so forth. Now secondly, let me tell you is that alluvial soil looks something like this. See, I told you, no, soil is not something that you will not see. But look at how the alluvial soil is. It is made up of multiple things. Does it look the same? Yes or no? Does this look the same? No, right? We see that some of it is fine particles, some of them are a little bigger than that, right? So we see that there are mix of different things here. So basically, if you look at the composition of alluvial soil, right, we see that it has proportions of sand, it has proportions of silt, and it has proportions of clay. So you have these three things together. Now remember this picture, and now remember what I'm trying to tell you. So now with the picture you're making the association. See, it has different kinds of things. What are my things? It is sand, silt and clay. Yes, intelligent boy, please tell me, right? Please tell me. Now next up you have to look at the chemical composition, right? Okay, now I know how it appears like. What exactly is it present in my soil? I see potash, phosphoric acid and lime, right? I see these three things. Now along with that we see that there are two kinds of alluvial soil or two types of it. I see that there is old alluvial soil and there is new alluvial soil, right? So my old alluvial soil that is there is Bangar, right? And then there is my new alluvial soil which is Khadar. Now please don't mind my pronunciations because my Hindi pronunciation could be very bad, so please don't mind. Ansh, if you keep spamming like this, it's going to become very tough, okay? I am teaching right now. Towards the end of the class, I will take your doubt. Yes? So here basically, you can get a 2-mark question. Yes? 2-mark question to differentiate between Khadar and Bangar, right? Yes, you have studied this. Oh, thank you. My pronunciation is right. Okay. So now, of course, as we all know, this has high concentration of conker nodules. This canker or conker that is there is basically a lot of calcium carbonate that is there, right? So they're basically nodules which are there. While this is bigger in size a little bit, right? So if you look at size wise, it's a little bigger, while your Khadar is a little more made up of finer particles, right? So this is what it is. Now let me tell you one thing. I am teaching with these slides, but towards the end, I also have a table, right? So all of you remember that I will have a table given to you towards the end of this part after I finish teaching so that you can take screenshots, okay? I am just using these slides so that your visualization becomes better. Because if I directly show you only with tables, no, you will not understand everything. Then it becomes memory. All of this is just by-hearting, remembering. But rather use logical ways of thinking to remember this, right? So I will show you the table. Don't worry for students getting worried about table. I will show you the table also. I need the map to show you, right? So that is the main reason. Anbusarian, I hope I got your name right. Which part did you not understand? But so far alluvial soil is easy. Easy peasy. No, you need to know basically characteristics of alluvial soil. This is important. You need to know what it has. You need to know its types and the distribution, right? Distribution is very, very important, okay? Anbusarian, I will take it once again towards the end if you don't mind. Coastal is basically at your, near your seas, the area which comes near your sea, right? It's very important. The area which comes near your sea is your coastal region that is there. So going back, we know that alluvial soil is formed by the sediments or the deposition of sediments by the river. We know that it is highly fertile, found in the northern plains. We know that we distribution, we find it in Indo-Gangetic plains. We find it in the eastern coastal part, Odisha, Tamil Nadu side, everything. And a part of it is on all the way there, which is near bits and pieces of Rajasthan and Gujarat, right? What kind of crops do you grow? You just need to find crops in crops that you mainly find growing in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar region and everything, right? So you know your rice, your wheat and your potato, jute, vegetables, all of that. Then of course characteristics wise we know that it has three things. It has sand, silt and clay, and we know that characteristics wise it has potash, it has lime and it has phosphorus, right? Then of course when we talk a little bit more about it, right? So we know that there are two kinds of it, which is your Bangar and your Khadar alluvial soil. Easy peasy, yes? Okay. Somebody asked me, ma'am, is Khadar more fertile? Yes, Khadar is more fertile than Bangar. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome, intelligent boy. Very proud of you. Lots of love to you, right? Okay. Now we will move on to the second type, right? So, intelligent boy, if you don't mind, I'm going to continue with the class, but towards the end, I will take your messages, right? So, moving on to the second kind, which is black soil. Now, see, black soil, for some reason, I feel like, NCERT loves giving a lot of questions, right? I feel like a lot of these PYQs are there in and around black soil, which is also known as regur soil, all right? And we see that it's mainly found in the Deccan Plateau region or in the central part. Now, look at this, okay? See, I have my own way of remembering map, okay? Let me tell you one thing. I have my own way of remembering map. Look at this. We see parts of Gujarat and then we see that there are parts, especially Maharashtra region, parts of Karnataka are continued, right? Or they are incorporated in it. Yes? So if you think about it, this looks like a weird alien face. Yes? We see that there is one weird alien face with mouth, two big mouths which are coming like that. Easy peasy. So you can think about it in this manner, or you can think about the fact that there is a man who is trying to wear a cap. As simple as that. Another way of remembering, right? I will tell you another way you can remember this is if your Maharashtra region is covered, right? If your Maharashtra region is being marked in the map, then pakka it is your regur soil. Easy. What about regur soil? Regur soil is also known as black soil. As simple as that. One question I would like to take right now is students were asking me, ma'am, will it come colored like this? It will not come colored. It could be black and white, right? It will be black and white, which is why the location is very important for all of you to remember, okay? So again, we see that a lot of examples that are there, right? So as you all know in this case, mainly we see that black soil, may say we have cotton which is being grown, right? Which is why black soil is also known as regur soil, or we also call it as black cotton soil also. Three ways to remember, yes? Now, of course, we know that apart from that, jowar, sunflowers, all of them are grown in this particular, it is being grown in this particular region, right? Now, see, black soil that is there. Whenever you talk about cotton soil, we know that cotton is normally grown in soil which is very clayey, right? So, clayey soil, so it's made up of a lot of clayey material. And we also know based on percolation rate, it has good amount of capacity to hold water, right? So, these are ways in this you know. Ma'am, what is Peninsular and Deccan region? Oh, Peninsular region is a region, it's where it's surrounded by, three regions are surrounded by water, right? We call this as a Deccan Plateau region, right? So this is what we mean by this. Okay. So here we mainly say that this is the plateau region, especially in parts of the plateau region, right? Now characteristic wise, this is how your black soil looks like. Okay, everybody have a look. Have a look at how the black soil looks like. Yes, now are you able to, keep this image in your mind. Whenever you are studying alluvial soil, put it in your mind, right? So again, at the same time, when you look at black soil, keep it in your mind. Yes? So this is what we mean by this. This is how black soil is going to look like. Now, an interesting thing is black soil is extremely rich in calcium carbonate, manganese, potash and lime, right? And we know that especially during summer season, they actually develop a lot of cracks. And this allows for a lot of air to enter and there's proper aeration. And then finally, we see that during monsoon season or maybe during first monsoon, the soil becomes very sticky. But nonetheless, we're able to grow crops, right? So these are some important characteristics that you will have to remember because they can ask you questions like write 3 characteristics about black soil, write 3 characteristics about alluvial soil. So these are kind of questions that you can get, right? Yes. Okay. So far, are we all clear? Are you all able to follow the way I am teaching this, right? Are you all able to remember? Tushar and many others asking me, ma'am, soil kya hai? Soil is a abiotic. It is a living system, right? It is a resource and it is a living system because it is made up of weathered rocks, right? Broken down rocks. And we see that the soil that is there has a lot of microorganisms. It has inorganic, components like nutrients, like your nitrogen, phosphorus, so that you can grow crops, right? And at the end of the day, we also know that we use soil for various other reasons. Yes, okay. Now, one more question which I would like to take, right? They cover which area is necessary. It is important to study, right? It is important to study this particular topic. Now, one question which I would like to ask the live students, how many of you feel like I am teaching very fast? Like my way of speaking is too fast for all of you to follow. If it is too fast, I will slow down. That is the reason why I am asking, right? Yes. Okay. Black soil, yes, Abhineet, that is correct. Oh, many of you are saying, ma'am. Okay, I will go a little bit slower. No, it's okay. I will be little slow, right? Okay, fine. Most of you are saying no, but it's okay. Because if I speak too slowly also, you will fall asleep, right? You're all like, oh, ma'am, so boring, and then you will sleep. Which is why you need me to be little fast, but normally I speak fast as a person, so I will try to slow it down a little more. Okay, my bad. Now let's move on to the next one, right? So now you know that your black soil, that is, as somebody told me, ma'am, distribution of black soil looks like amoeba, right? Yes. Okay. Amoeba ka also, you can keep that as a idea. Next you have red and yellow soil. Abhi, red and yellow soil, you know how it will look, right? We know that red and yellow soil that is there is normally reddish yellowish in color, right? Now the reason why this red soil has this color is because it has very high iron content in it, right? So we know that there's a lot of iron which is present, which is why it is this region. I mean, it has this color. Now we see that it is formed by the weathering of ancient crystalline rocks, like your crystalline igneous rock, It's formed by the formation or the weathering of igneous rocks and your metamorphic rocks, right? So it is formed by this, which is why in this case, right, we see that normally the distribution of this red and yellow parts, we observe it in southern India, right? So we see that in southern parts of the Deccan Plateau, we find it especially in regions like parts of Karnataka, Kerala. We also see a little bit in Chhattisgarh, we find it in Odisha, and we also see that there are in southern parts, some parts of the northeastern region also we find it. But Abhi, let me tell you easy way to remember. Now you need to remember distribution, no? Where all do we find it? It's one thing that you will remember these names. Okay, southern part of Deccan Plateau, Kerala, parts of Karnataka. This is one way. But map pe how? See here. You see that there is parts in the eastern parts, right? Now doesn't this look like a guy with topi? You know there is, how many of you have watched this cartoon? I don't know if you would have watched it at this age, but when I was young, I used to watch a cartoon called Courage the Cowardly Dog. In Courage the Cowardly Dog, right? Oh, Chhattisgarh spelling is wrong, sorry. So in Courage the Cowardly Dog, you see that there is a guy, there's a cartoon guy who looks like this. If you have not seen, go check it out, right? Everybody is telling me lag. There is no lag, bacha. Are they still spamming? Are you guys spamming? Is this what's happening? Guys, it's all good. Now it's fine. Don't say lag. Now I feel like you're just saying lag to make me stop teaching, I feel. Coming back, right? We know that red and yellow soil is red in color because of high iron content, right? And we know that it's formed by weathering of igneous and metamorphic rocks. Now, distribution that is there, we know that we find it in different parts, right? So now we see that it looks like the cartoon character, the man character, I forgot his name, but it looks a little bit like that. And you imagine that this is the remaining part of his dress, right? You imagine he's wearing a big puffy collar. That is the distribution of red and yellow soil, right? It's as simple and easy as that, right? So now, of course, as we move, we see that the red and yellow soil looks something like this, yes? And we see here that mainly crops like wheat, pulses, millets, bajra, they are all grown in the case of red and yellow soil. And this is where we find the distribution. Now, why are we saying that it could be either red or yellow? Now, we know that it is red in color because of lots of iron content, right? But when there's a lot of water which gets incorporated or when it is hydrated, right? We see that at this case, it becomes yellow soil. It's as simple and easy as that. Yes, thank you, Saurabh sir. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that, Abni. Thank you so much. Now, let's move on to the next kind of it, which is laterite soil, right? Now, laterite, yes, if you think about it, we see that laterite that is there is derived from a Latin word which means later, right? So, we see that this right here means later, which means that it develops. So basically it normally develops in tropical and subtropical climate and it is formed by the leaching of soil. That means lot of water keeps or action of water keeps acting on it, right? So it keeps acting on it and normally because it's found in regions where there is high temperature and rainfall, we see that as a result there's a lot of lime and silica in it, right? Which is why in this particular case we see that laterite soil is a little bit acidic in nature and we see that they look something like this. So this is how your laterite soil looks like, which is quite different from say your red and yellow soil. Now if you look at the distribution of laterite soil, no, it's very sparse. It's not like it is found everywhere. We see that first and foremost, we also find it in some parts of, Karnataka, we find it in some parts of Kerala, and we also see that we find it in some parts of the northeastern place also. Something wherever, whatever looks very scattered all over the place. No, that is your laterite soil. It's randomly scattered. Yes? Ma'am, what is meant by hydrated? Hydrated means when there's a lot of water content incorporated in it, we call that as hydrated. Okay? Now we see that we find it in Kerala, Odisha, Assam, Meghalaya, Karnataka. We find it in all of these regions. They're normally a little less fertile, right? So we see that they're a little less fertile in nature. And we see that they're a little bit prone to soil erosion. But of course, by treating them and everything, we are able to grow certain crops, right? Leaching is action of water on the soil, right? So it is leaching, that means action of water. Cotton is mainly grown in your black soil, right? It's mainly grown in black soil. But if you see on acting on it, we will be able to, on adding, by adding fertilizers and by modifying, giving them a lot of, giving it a lot of treatment, we will be able to utilize it, right? Yes. Leaching is action of water, okay? Now next up is arid soil, right? Ananya, I will take Piedmont zone as well, right? Yes, I will take that question also. Now we have arid soil. Now your arid soil that is there, I can also call it, I will not call it as desert soil, but I would say that we find it in arid regions where we see that there is very little water. Now it's very simple, right? This is very, very easy. Remember Rajasthan. Okay? One part of Rajasthan you will find arid soil, right? Now mainly you know that they might be a little bit yellowish to brownish in color. They're sandy in texture. They're made up of sandy soil, right? We know that it will have a lot of salt in it and we know that it cannot really retain a lot of water. We find it in we mainly find it in a lot of places which cannot retain a lot of water and in high temperature as well, right? So we see that arid soil is mainly found in these places and then we have mountain soil. Mountain ko to if northern part of our country is marked, right? So Jammu region, Ladakh and your parts of Uttarakhand, all of these regions are marked. You know it is your forest soil or your mountainous soil, right? And we know that they're mainly found in your mountain slopes. We know that normally it's covered by forests, it's rich rich in humus, right? And we know that mainly cultivation of plantation crops are normally seen in these areas, because not just there, even in parts of Arunachal, we observe this, right? Yes. Ma'am, why is there salt? See, see, when I say salt, it's not your homemade salt, right? It could be salt in general, like your, what do you say, it could be salts of various elements that are there, or various minerals that are there. Yes, so that is what I mean by salt. It's humus. Okay, humus. Yes. All right. So with this, of course, I use these slides because I want to show distribution. But when you are studying, you will not make pages and pages of notes. This is how you will study, right? This is how we are going to study. Where alluvial soil co, we will first do characteristics, where we talk about how it has clay, silt and sand, how there are two types. Then we will talk about fertility, where we know that alluvial soil is extremely fertile. Yes, we know that it has potash, phosphoric acid and all of that, and where we have the location. Similarly, for black soil, which is known as regur soil or cotton soil, then you know that it's made up of clay material. It can hold a lot of water content, so it can hold a lot of moisture. We know that it is rich in these nutrients and where we find them. So everybody quickly take a screenshot for this particular page. You can take a screenshot and then you can make your own table also, right? So whatever extra points that you need to add, which you might forget, right? So whatever you might end up forgetting in class, you can write it down in this table also. But this right here is a basic way of remembering this particular chapter. So are you all able to find this table easy to study with, right? See, I made a basic table, but add the pointers that you need for the exam. Yes? Is this good to go? See, if I started teaching you with this only, all of you would have just memorized it blindly. I don't want any of you memorizing things blindly. Yes? Ma'am, all this information is covered in NCERT. Absolutely. I have verified everything with NCERT so that I don't teach you anything extra, right? Good. Very good. Quickly moving on to recall red soil or yellow soil. We know that red soil, is formed because of a lot of iron content which is present, and we know that it is formed by the weathering of igneous and metamorphic rocks. We know that compared to your relatively, we know that it's not very fertile because it is relatively less on nutrients and humus, but we know that on modifying we will be able to cultivate. Now we have laterite soil, which is formed by leaching in heavy rain. It is it's deeply acidic. We know that it's low on plant nutrients. But in some regions, it has humus in it, and in arid regions, we see that it does not have a lot of humus. And this is where we find it. Humus, what is that? Humus is basically the top organic layer of soil, which is rich in a lot of nutrients and living organisms, right? So that is what we mean by this. So everybody take a screenshot of this particular slide and give me a thumbs up. Yes? Next slide, I will teach you. Okay, Fatima, what is igneous rocks? Igneous rocks are formed by the solidification of lava or magma, right? Or due to volcanic activity, right? So there is eruption of lava, and then when it solidifies, it results in the formation of igneous rocks. Yes, okay, very good, done. Now moving on to the next one, which is arid and forest soil, right? So we know that arid soil that is there is mainly red to brown, or it can be red to brown in color, and it has a sandy texture. Yes, and we know that it lacks a lot of humus, and it cannot hold a lot of moisture in it. It's not very fertile, and of course you need to irrigate it, but not a lot of areas are used, right? Not in a lot of places do we use this. And especially in Western Rajasthan, we observe this. Yes. Now we see that forest soil that is there is extremely loamy in nature, which means it's a mixture of your clayey and your sandy soil. And we know that it is mainly, in the valley regions, we see that it's a little silty. That means it's very fine. While on the other hand, in the upper slopes, we see that's a little more coarse in nature, and we see that it's a little more bigger in size. Now we normally see that the soil that we find in the valleys, right? So whatever we find in the valley, which is a point, this is a valley, right? And we know that right here we see that the soil is found, and normally it is used for cultivation, which is why we see that in hilly mountainous areas, cultivation of tea, coffee, rubber, all of this is there. Yes? So everybody give me a quick screenshot or take a quick screenshot. Fatima, yes, it does. Okay? All right, very good. Somebody was asking me, ma'am, is this enough? See, this right here, right? Let me tell you. This right here is not the final table that you will use, right? This is not the final table. Oh, okay, sorry. This is not the final table that you are going to use. This is a table for your reference, which will make it easy for you all to understand and study, right? Okay. Okay, all right, everybody, very good. What makes a laterite soil to become so acidic? It's multiple reasons. First and foremost is the formation, the way it is, due to the action of water, due to the chemical composition of it. We see that at the end of the day, there is acid. It is acidic in nature, right? Okay. Oh, how sweet are they? So sweet. Yes, that is mainly the reason, buddy. Okay. So with this, everyone, we are done with two very, very important topics. Now, let me tell you one thing. I will share the PDF, Himanshi. Don't worry. I will share it with you on Telegram. Now, classification of soil pe, remember, characteristics may you will get questions, right? And identification of map can come for MCQ questions, okay? So, remember these two things. Are you all ready with me? Are you all ready? Yes? It's okay, comfy studies. You can come back and watch the session. No problem at all, right? We are not getting notes. You will get all the 3 PDFs today only, right? As soon as I finish my session, actually after I finish my 9 o'clock session, you will get all my PDFs. Yes? Cool. Now we will move on to the next 2 topics, right? Abhi, next 2 topics, right? It's very easy, okay? These 2 topics you should not tell me, ma'am, ye bahut confusing hai, ye bahut simple hai, right? And we have to wind up in the next 10 minutes. 20 minutes pe we will wind up, not going to be complicated. One is going to be soil erosion and the other one that is there is going to be prevention of soil erosion, right? Now before I go to it, I have a question, right? Ma'am, when alluvial soil near to the valley are bigger and they break off the slope as it is coarse, what is it meant by it? See, basically when it is near to the valley, so basically what happens is that at the Piedmont region and everything, we see that it breaks off the slope, right? So we see that there becomes a difference in size because your water that is there, imagine if this is your mountain, your water is flowing, right, across, it's flowing downwards in this way. So as it goes or as the water flows and collects the sediments, we see that size of the particles keeps changing, right? So that is something that I would tell you. Okay. Sharanya, can I tell it to you towards the end of class, if that's okay? I will tell you how to get it. Now we will move on to soil erosion, right? So let me tell you one thing. We will need to understand 2 things. One is what is the soil erosion and why should we have the soil conservation, right? So now when we talk about soil erosion is when something gets eroded or it gets damaged, right? If I have to put it pretty simply. But now soil erosion is the removal of the top layer of the soil either by natural forces or by human activities. Now, when we talk about soil, we know that there are various layers of the soil, right? So, if I take the soil profile, we see that we have various layers, yes? So, now of course, we know that the top soil that is there is very important. Now, can you tell me what is there in the top soil which is so important? Everybody ransack your brain a little bit to remember from grade 7 soil, all of you would have learnt, right? Those are regions, Chumpeka, Duros, Chos, Terai regions. They're all different regions which are there. Yes? Exactly. Your topsoil here is a very fertile layer. It has humus. It has a lot of organic content. It has a lot of nutrients in it. So you imagine if I remove my topsoil altogether, will my soil or will that land be good? Will I be able to use this land for cultivation? Will I be able to grow crops if I get rid of my topsoil altogether? Yes or no? No, right? I will not be able to. Which is why soil erosion is the removal or the destruction. So somebody asked me what is the denudation? I am not using hefty words like denudation of soil cover. Denudation is nothing but removal of the topsoil, right? And the subsequent washing down. Now, normally in nature, it's not like when soil is formed, everything is well and good. To be honest, nature also contributes a little bit on soil erosion. But naturally, we know that there is always a balance, right? We know that there is a balance between soil formation and we know that there is a balance between soil erosion. But it becomes an issue for us when we start meddling, right? When humans have gone and meddled and poked their noses, everything has gone out of disturbance, right? I mean, everything has gone out of balance, right? So everything, wherever balance has been gone, it is because of us getting involved. So which is why soil erosion is not just caused by humans, I mean natural forces, but of course by humans as well. So your natural forces that are there includes, glaciers, it includes wind, many other factors, right? Water also is one among the factors. But when human activities come in, like overgrazing, deforestation, and then we know that a lot of various other factors, right? We know that construction, mining, and so much more, we all contribute to soil erosion. So how exactly, right? How exactly does soil erosion take place? Now, there are types of soil erosion which is mentioned in your textbook. Now, it is not called out properly, which is why I need you to pay attention. Go to that soil erosion paragraph and underline this, right? Put star marks and asterisks everywhere. Now, soil erosion at times, right? We know that it can be caused due to running water. So, we're going to elaborate a little bit more on these natural forces and your human forces, human contributions also. So, in your natural forces, erosion can happen due to running water. So, what happens is that sometimes, water will form channels, okay. So, if this is my piece of land, my water that is there, it will form channels like this. Or in Hindi, what do we say? If there is a narrow road, there are two buildings, okay, and there is a narrow road here. What do we call this in Hindi? Can you tell me? Two huge road, two huge buildings, many buildings which are there. Abhi uske beech mein you have one road. Gully, exactly. Now, in and around your house, so many gullies are there. No, and what is the thing about the gully? We know that they are they are narrow channels which are there. Now, in this case, we see that it's not only narrow, but we see that they form deep channels, right? They form deep channels. And as a result, what happens? Exactly, Prachi, right? Mere gully mein. So now, of course, as we know, deep channels are formed. And as a result, when this is formed, we see that the land becomes bad. And when the land becomes bad, we are no longer able to cultivate it. Yes? So that is what we mean by this. As a matter of fact, in Chambal Basin, right, as a result, these lands are what we call as ravines, right? So at one point in Chambal Basin, we call it as ravines. So they will ask you maybe for 1 mark, not for 1 mark because you don't have 1 mark questions. 2 marks maybe they may ask you to elaborate a little bit on gully erosion and the next point which is sheet erosion. Okay? Now, your next type due to running water is sheet erosion. Now, how is gully different from sheet? Now, you imagine if you had 2-3 sheets of paper. I don't have 2-3 sheets of paper with me. Okay, give me 1 minute. I have this notebook lying around, so I am going to do this. See, now you have many pages, right? So, can we make me a little big on screen maybe? Can we do that? Okay, so you imagine, as a side pe I'll draw right now. Imagine if you had many sheets of paper, right? You have stacked these sheets of paper one on top of the other, yes? And now you imagine if I took one whole sheet of paper. Now you imagine there are many sheets here and I took one whole sheet and it's gone, right? Abhi ek whole sheet I took it and I removed it, right? So that's one whole layer that I have removed. Yes or no? So when you think about sheets, you can think about us having a bunch of paper with us and I remove it sheet by sheet. Now you imagine if soil was arranged like that, you can get me back to normal. If soil was arranged like that and if thin layers of soil was removed one by one, then we call it as sheet erosion, right? So we see that a sheet of soil is removed, okay? Simple and easy. Then this is because of water. Erosion due to water is sheet erosion or gully erosion. But due to wind, it can happen when strong winds, right? They carry, the soil particles and they will take it away. So effectively what happens is that if there's very loose soil, not like in the case of your black soil and everything which is very tightly packed. But if there is very loose soil which is there, and they get to, if they are removed, we see that is normally happening because of wind. Then of course our case humans have come to incorrect farming methods, right? So sometimes if you don't plow the land properly, right, or if you are not taking care of the way we handle the soil, we see that it can contribute to soil erosion. Ma'am, what are gullies? Gullies are deep channels which are formed, right? Deep channels which are formed as a result of movement of water, right? So this is the reason behind it. So now we know the factors which have contributed to soil erosion, right? So how can we prevent soil erosion? That is what we are going to learn, right? There is a need for soil erosion or soil conservation, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we keep our soil fertile, and at the result, we need to take care of our soil, because at the end of the day, agricultural productivity must be maintained, right? So how can we do it? There are various methods. So now you can do soil erosion differently in different places. On hilly slopes, soil erosion is slightly different, right? While in plains, we may use strip cropping as a method. In dry region, we use shelter method. Yes? So on hilly slopes, you use contour barriers and terrace farming. In plains, see, in your textbook only strip cropping is mentioned, but two other examples are mulching and rock dams, and you can use shelter beds also, right? So quickly, contour barrier is to form, you make barriers, you contour the land, right? Or you shape the land and you put barriers so that we observe that there is no soil erosion by water. Then of course practice terrace farming or step farming, right? So that at the end of the day we know that again it does not get affected. Then you have strip cropping, where you have strips where in between you have grass which is allowed to grow. This breaks the flow of the wind and again reduces soil erosion. Then you have shelter beds, especially in arid areas, where you plant a lot of trees, right? You plant a lot of trees so that it breaks the flow of wind and it does not allow for soil erosion. Yes? With this, everybody, we are done with today's class. Here's a quick question for all of you. Which among the following is not a method to prevent soil erosion in plain areas, right? Plain areas. Can you tell me mulching, rock dam, strip cropping or terrace farming? Yes. Ma'am, you used to teach, I still teach biology, but I also teach geography for all of you because I enjoy. To be honest, there's a lot of biology and geography also. I really enjoy that. See, rock dams, these three are in the plains, right? I told you rock dams, mulching, strip cropping are all for in the case of plains. But terrace farming, where do we practice terrace farming? Can you tell me? Where exactly do we practice terrace farming? In which kind of region do we practice it? Can you tell me? Ma'am, tea plantations, yes, Jishna, you're right. Hilly areas, very good all of you, very, very good. Now very quickly all of you students, if you enjoyed what I taught today, if you enjoyed this particular class, let me know, right? Please let me know in the comments below of this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, right? So please don't forget to hit the like button on this video as well. Okay. Ma'am, if a question comes, should I write? Okay, wait. I cannot see the chat. It's moving very fast. Ma'am, I have 6 lessons for SST, but I have assignment plus tuitions. What to do for other subjects? Divyashri, I think first and foremost having a proper timetable, because I understand you have a lot to do. So we'll have a timetable which is, we have had many timetable classes, but if you wish to have a proper timetable class for social science to manage your online and offline classes, we'll be able to, help you out, and we'll make a class on that as well. But it's important that you balance it out, right? Secondly, I have questions which says, ma'am, explain. I will take that question on explain net zone area. Mulching kya hai? मैं बताती हूँ, 1 minute. I missed one question which I wanted to take. Okay. All right. So very quickly, I want to take 2 questions which I will not take too much of your time, right? So that is mulching and rock dams which are there. Now in the case of mulching, right? So we see that we use a lot of organic material like straw, right? Straw and many other things, we use it and we put it on the soil, right? So if you see straw, it's like hay, right? We put hay and then we sort of put it on top of it so that it again does not allow soil erosion to happen. Rock dams that are there are basically you make a dam out of rocks, right? So you use gravel and everything and then you put it on the sides. It's as simple as that. Next up, popular demand of net zone area and grass cropped area. Okay, doing that very quickly. Now your net zone area or your NSA is the physical extent, right? The physical extent into which you have, cultivated crops. I'll put it in easy words, to which you have cultivated crops. And this is when we are counting it once. So imagine I have this land and this much area pe I have cultivated maybe wheat. And I used this much amount of land only once in 1 year. Now this area of land, let's say 50 meters square, will come in my net zone area, the physical extent up to which I catered or I cultivated my crops in a single year once. But the thing is, I will not use one piece of land only once. I will use it maybe 3-4 times. Now when I use it multiple amount of times, I cannot bring it under my net zone area, but rather I will bring it under my gross cropped area, which is the area of land that I use to grow crops more than once, right? So that is what we mean by this. MBA aspirant, I understand that probably in the live class, my pace would have been a little faster, right? Because it is a little faster, maybe you wouldn't have understood. I request you to go back and quickly rewind and watch the whole video once again, maybe in 1.5x speed, and wherever you didn't understand, pause it and rewatch once again. Read with your textbook. And I want to have a quick question with all of you. Do you guys want to have a doubt solving class? A separate doubt solving class do you want for this particular chapter? Yes? Okay. If you want a separate doubt solving class, I will take it up, right? Or I can take up a mentee also. So for important topics, if you want doubt solving, let me know in the comments of this video. And very quickly for all of you, here's a quick homework question also, wherein you need to tell me, write down 3 characteristics about black soil, right? So whoever wants to attend doubt solving, you can attend, not a problem, right? I will take that. But here, of course, this is a homework question for all of you. And if you want the notes of this chapter, go to the description of this video. You will be able to find the Telegram link. And on our Telegram channel, I will be uploading all the notes in PDF form, so you will be able to get it. So quickly to summarize, we learnt about soil, we learnt about factors affecting soil formation, what happens in soil erosion, and what are the different ways in which we prevent soil erosion. And we also learnt about the classification of Indian soil, right? So thank you so much everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's class, because as you all know, right, this is just the start and we'll keep revising, and don't worry, as you all need to know, BYJU'S 9th and 10th has always got you covered. So please make sure to hit the like button on this video. Do not forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed the class, you should let me know in the comments of this video as well. I will see you all very soon, students. But up until then, take care, lots of love, and bye-bye.